Hallo, hallo, hallo und willkommen zu einem ganz speziellen Interview hier auf dem LessStress Cast. And we are switching to English now because my interview partner actually is speaking English as natively. You can see him right in front of here. If you are watching on YouTube, if you are listening on the podcast app, don't worry, you can find the interview as well. If you want to see my interview partner, you can find that on my YouTube channel as well. But I'm very, very happy to have him today here. His name is Asad, and he's from San Francisco. And we actually got to know us a couple of years ago because we were co-workers and we were working in the same gym. But before I dive too much into like how amazing this guy is, I have him introducing himself. So welcome to the show, Asad.
Mav, thank you so much for having me, dude. My name is Asad Choudhry. I am a medical doctor. Um, my last couple of years, I spent about a year in residency, and I was basically convinced that the system was broken in a fashion that was not repairable through positive efforts within it. So I came out to San Francisco because the startup scene really was kind of like, I saw it on TV all the time, and I really believed in innovation and disruption. Oh, they're gonna do it, dude, right? When I got here, I realized that these are a bunch of just Oxford and Stanford grads who don't know anything about medicine in the healthcare field, and they're just raising money, chilling in a loft, and selling gimmicks, right? So I did that for about 2 years, but before that, that's where I met Mav. Actually, I spent a year basically being a personal trainer for like high-end clients. And I ran into Mav. You should have seen him a couple of years ago, guys. Like, yo, Mav was a skinny guy, dude. I
Yeah.
dude, I honestly, you were like athletic, but like a yoga skinny running guy.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, but look, dude, through hard work and effort, you figured it out, and you did it on your own. Basically, that's pretty cool. So I spent a year doing that. Then I spent after a year of the personal training with the rich people, basically, which I learned a lot. You learn a lot about what this town looks for and wants by schmoozing with high end people. I did research for 2 years at UCSF, studying autoimmunity, cancer within the skin and GI system. And then about 4 or 5 months ago, I transitioned out of it, partially connected to some COVID related type of stress, um, not wanting to work with a mask on for things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I transitioned out of it, and I'm starting to do what I've always wanted to do, but wasn't, encouraged to do by anybody else, which is just this personal one-on-one health coaching, teaching people how simple stuff, how to make themselves stronger physically, mentally, emotionally, as cheaply as possible. Like, this is not supposed to be a $200,000 a year spa program. This is like, yo, wherever you're at, we're gonna try to help you out where you're at, and we're trying to maximize the results. For
100%.
that,
Yeah.
you want equality in healthcare, and if people go into personal business without that mindset in the healthcare sort of field, I don't agree with that. You're not on Wall Street. If someone is broken down and needs your help, you help them pro bono if you can. That's
Yeah.
the psychology. That's how a doctor should act, and that's how any person who cares about someone else should act, even if they're trying to survive. So it's a new ethics. It should always have been there. I'm doing that now. I'm stumbling through it. Mav is helping me out. Mav is giving me some structure to understand what to do.
Well,
But
you're helping me out.
yeah, it's a new thing for me, and to be honest with you, I only have a couple of clients, but dude, look, I just got an email this morning, dude. Like, I never had this experience in my life as a doctor. I have a client, and she was like, everyone goes home, and a lot of people go home after work and they have one or two drinks, or at least one drink every night. But that, after a while, that becomes an addiction, right? And I didn't want to directly talk to her about it. And she had even complained about some symptoms that indicated that her liver and pancreas were under stress. But again, when I was talking to her, I don't want to jump on down her throat and be like, oh God, you're an alcoholic. I can't do that. You scared people away. And, it's not my place to judge, dude. We're
No.
just here to help. We're just little, that's it. So, but let me tell you something. There was a reward there. I put her on glutamine. I'm giving you a quick
Mm-hmm.
side story. the reason I put her on glutamine was like, okay, alcoholics or anyone who drinks alcohol is a little bit depleted on that. And what people search for from alcohol and benzodiazepines is basically the neurotransmitter that they're looking for is GABA to basically calm them down. Both of those two substances do that. What I like about glutamine is that the glutamine goes up into the brain, and not only does it help produce GABA, it helps produce that naturally, as opposed to how alcohol and benzos work. It also produces glutamate. So when you take glutamine, you balance out both the stimulatory, which is a glutamate, it's an excitatory neurotransmitter, and you also get your inhibitory neurotransmitter at the same time. That's balanced brain function. The reason I bring that up is like I put her on glutamine, and 3-4 days later, she just journaled me in the morning and said like, and I never brought the alcohol stuff up. He's like, I haven't journaled in a very long time, and this morning I woke up and I know alcohol is bad for me and all this stuff. Dude, she's opening up, and bro, it's
Wow.
like, dude, I cannot explain to you what the difference is between that and being stuck in a white coat in an office, pressing buttons on a computer, giving them this drug, dude. Like it's torture, and people don't talk about it, and that's why doctors get effed up emotionally, dude.
Yeah.
Emotionally get messed up, and that's you see that happen to them. They become callous, and you can't blame them either, dude. They don't know. It's a torturous process. They're indoctrinated, and if you try to tell them that, you're insulting their intelligence, and nobody can handle that, dude. It's too. I wouldn't be able to handle it. So,
Yeah.
anyway, that
Yeah.
so I'm now working with people one on one, and it's just beginning. It's blossoming, and I
Okay.
love it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's where
Awesome.
I'm at, guys.
Okay. Awesome. I mean, I think it sounds fantastic because as soon I have the same experience with my clients, as soon as you start to intervene and show them like, okay, this is like some quick fixes you can do immediately, and they don't even realize it, but the body reacts, right? And
It
then
does.
it's something step by step starts to change, and this is absolutely amazing. Okay,
Yeah,
so great. So I have a couple of questions for you, obviously, for the interview. Um,
yeah.
we talk about stress here on the podcast all the time, and I know we're living through very, very stressful situation for most of the people right now, and we're gonna get to that. But before we actually really dive deep into it, can you take us a little bit through your day? Like how is a typical day look like? You mentioned you work with your clients, but
Yeah,
I know you
yeah.
have not this typical 9 to 5 lifestyle like normal people do.
Well, now that I'm free from being stuck in a room,
Yeah.
here's how I do it. Okay, I live in a city which I don't really like. Okay, it's not good for you to live in population dense areas, and we'll get into that stuff later in the podcast. But what I immediately do upon arising is I go outside immediately.
Mhm.
Staying inside is not good for your body, and you are under stress when you're indoors. And again, we'll talk about that later. I go outside immediately. I take my glasses off. I go find where the sun is, and I basically gaze at the sun directly. And I do this for very long periods of time because I'll get up at 7:30 whenever sunrise is, and I'll
Mhm.
go outside, gently begin adapting my eyes, my without glasses, to the light, because when I'm feeding the brain information about what time it is and also information about what hormones to release. Okay. If I'm stuck indoors, and we'll talk about that too, I can't do that. So, you know how when you stay inside for too long, you get that cabin fever, that tension. Eh,
Yeah.
There's a reason for that. Your body is built to be outside, right? And on top of that, so I'm outside, I'm getting up. If it's not, we're still good, yeah. I'm gonna have my clothes off, trying to expose my skin to the sun, also to charge my skin up, right? Your skin needs that too. It's not just vitamin D you're getting from the sun. There's a lot more going on there. The ultraviolet light and infrared light is powering your physiology, very similarly to how a plant can exist without eating.
Mhm.
We can kind of approximate that. So I start my day off making sure that at least I get about 30 minutes minimum outside. Okay. If the sun's out and I can look at it, I'm gonna have expose my eyes to it. I mean, I'm directly looking at it. And I'll explain to people how to do that. And I adapted myself gradually
Mhm.
because like just like anything has been atrophied, if you never worked out in your whole life, you can't go outside and deadlift something heavy,
Yeah,
right? You're gonna hurt yourself.
yeah,
So if you've been used to indoor lights with light bulbs at like 100 watts, that's your whole life. The sun's gonna blow you away. So there's a way to do all this stuff, right? And it's sad that medicine misleads people into thinking that the sun is bad for them. And even a lot of fair skinned people have this misunderstanding too. It's like, well, it's okay for melanated people, but it's going to kill us. I'm like, guys, no, it won't kill you. You have to just be a little bit more intelligent about it, but you need it desperately too.
yeah.
So I do that.
Before
And so the,
before you
go ahead.
continue, actually, just quickly, because I think I understood perfectly what you were saying, but I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page here right now. So basically, what you do, you use the sunlight outside to activate the hormones inside of your body and signalize through these hormones. Okay, this is what's going on. We are using the light. We are using the energy of the light. So you are basically activating your cortisol. You're getting up and stuff like that, right?
Getting every no, you brought up a really good point, and I didn't realize it that people are not going to know this. There's a part of your brain called the retinal hypothalamic tract. So
Okay.
there's a direct connection between your retina and your hypothalamus, and thus your pituitary.
Hmm.
So the light that hits your retina directly influences hormone release from these central brain areas. So when we wake up with that cortisol, right? We wake up with cortisol that wakes us up.
Yeah.
If you don't go outside, you don't shut that cortisol off. If you stay indoors in artificial light, that cortisol will not reduce naturally. So cortisol has benefits too, but
Sure.
when it's orchestrated properly,
Yeah.
cortisol with the on button all day long, that's messed up. So if you get up in the morning, take a shower, stay inside, run to your car, run inside the office, you never shut it off. It
Okay.
stays on. So
Okay.
people don't know this. They feel it. They don't feel well, but that stress feeling is partially because you didn't get that AM sunlight to stop this process. You were built
Okay.
to be outside of nature. So
So
that's the whole connection.
that's
Yes.
basically,
Yeah.
so it reduces actually your stress, so it can balance itself out again because of
Yeah,
the
exactly.
sending the signal. Okay.
Exactly. It's made to do it like that. It's in coordination like that. Exactly.
All right.
So I do that. Then I have to go inside, jump inside. So what I like to do, say I spend an hour and a half on the phone or an hour and a half on Zoom, for this is only right now because I have the luxury to do it. I try to spend almost the same amount of time away from technology, like
Mhm.
grounded with my bare feet in the grass. At least I can't always do that, but if I'm on there for 90 minutes, I need to be outside for 45 minutes. I'm giving you very extreme things, but I'm also testing it out, trying to figure out what's really optimal for the human body,
Okay.
not what's that's not what's scalable across the world for industry, right? This is the while still being in a toxic environment, both physically, chemically, and electromagnetically, right? Those are the questions I'm trying to answer, which is the city environment for many people, right?
Sure.
So it's balancing between going inside and outside, and I'll do this all day long. It's annoying to do. I'm not going to say this is a fun process, but it's absolutely critical when you're living in the times that we're living in. Okay, like I don't think humanity's ever been under this kind of psychological, chemical, physical, electromagnetic stress, toxic stress ever in human history. So that's why we have to resort to sort of these more extreme behaviors. Like we can't be quite so casual and then wonder why our health is collapsing. Like
Can,
I wish, you know,
can you dig in just very briefly, very quickly, why technology has such a bad impact on the human physiology?
fundamentally, it's basically because it affects the mitochondrial function. In addition to the artificial light is feeding your brain because part of your brain is also a timer as well. So the artificial light from phones, unless you're protecting yourself properly, it keeps telling your brain it's noontime. And in addition to releasing dopamine, that's a separate thing. It's also draining your most stimulatory hormones continuously. So you're gonna feel amped up, but then and you press the on button so much for these, you can't recover properly. So that's what artificial light does, right? It destroys you centrally from messing up your central hormone production and release from your hypothalamus pituitary. And then the mitochondria are under stress from wireless 2G, 3G, 4G. It changes their function, it alters their function, which affects energy production. All right. The lower energy production you have, the more problems can accumulate. And in addition to that, it also, when you mess up energy production in mitochondria, mitochondria are where you make all your melatonin. You store melatonin in the pineal gland, other places, but the actual organelle within the cell that makes melatonin is mitochondria. So your wireless router is destroying your ability to make melatonin within your mitochondria.
Wow.
So this is a big deal. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't mean to freak people out, but
No, but
that's
why I wanted to dig in. So basically you could say that artificial light does the same opposite that sunlight, if I understand you correctly.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
It is pretty much doing the opposite. Yeah, essentially. It's even doing less than the opposite because the sunlight is balanced. It's stimulating and relaxing. That's just stimulating you and,
Okay.
and then running you into the ground, you know? So yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So I think, so that's basically, that's how I structure my day. If I can get a good workout in. Right now, working out in gyms is a little bit annoying still. I'm gonna go do it today. I have to wear a mask in there. So I mean, like, bro, I mean, I want to not do that many sets, and I'm gonna cut the reps because of that. But it's still worth doing the resistance training.
In San Francisco,
So that's sort of how.
in San Francisco, you have to wear a mask when you even work out, right? Even when you're at the set, right? Or
Yes. You have to keep it on the whole time. Which again is so counterintuitive to me. I cannot adapt to it. There's certain things I can adapt to, dude,
Yeah.
and there's certain things I can't adapt to.
Yeah.
Walking around outside with a mask, I can't adapt to it. And I never adapted to it. And yeah, everyone looks at me like a potential, they don't know what to think because they've been seeing me maskless for months now in my neighborhood. So in the beginning, I'm sure they were like scared of me as a super spreader. Then I'm sure they go back and forth, be like, why isn't this guy dying? You know what I mean? Things like that, dude. Like, I'm watching their thoughts in their eyes and like be like, what, you must think something. I'm not a homeless guy. I'm out here all the time, completely unprotected for hours at a time and not worried about it. Like, it has to register a little bit to them, right? So, and I have like both positive and negative feedback. Sometimes people get angry at me. Sometimes people are really cool about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I have the same thing because as you know, and we are, guys, you have to understand, we are constantly in touch. We are always talking and we are always getting feedback because I'm living here in Europe and you live in the United States, but the situation is almost the same and it gets
Yeah, I'm
weird.
surprised. I'm actually surprised that Germany is that shut down. I mean, I kind of understand because they're first world economy, but damn, dude.
Yeah, it's getting worse and worse, and the thing is, I don't want to push anyone. Like I'm a big supporter of freedom, right? You can do whatever you want. You can put Mickey Mouse hats on your head if you want to, if it makes you feel safe.
Right.
But the problem where I am just out is when somebody forces me to do something where I know that is not healthy for me. That is just becoming a huge problem, right? And
Yeah, dude.
that's the thing. Like, you can do whatever you want, but as soon as that happens, that's gonna be a problem, right?
And it should be a problem, dude. It should be a problem. Are you kidding me? Like, I had to sit there, and even when I showed my colleagues that when you put this mask on, you're changing the ratio of carbon dioxide you're inhaling, like, it wasn't registering to them. I'm like, they somehow found it as they try to think of it as an experimental artifact. I'm like, you guys are idiots. First of all, we can't breathe inside these things. I mean, no offense, dude, right? But sometimes smart people are really stupid and they can be led because it's not enough to be smart. This is what this whole virus thing made me realize. It's not enough to be smart. You need to be smart and have a street smart ethics about like deep spiritual stuff. If you don't understand that, you're not going to be able to understand this world. You're just going to be sort of a semi spectator thinking that you're proactively involved. So, I mean, this is more of a metaphysical statement, but yeah, man, that's when I realized I have to get away from these people because, dude, listen, not no joke. We were having a going away party and we're all sitting like 7, 8 feet away from each other with masks on. And I'm just like, bro, this is unbelievable. And they were joking about vaccine parties and celebrating being together again normally. I'm like, this is not the place for me anymore. Like this, it wasn't sarcastic. They were
Yeah.
joyfully joking about vaccines party. I'm like, these morons really believe this.
Yeah.
Like, that's when I realized, like, I am not part of this. And I don't, you have to understand that, like, it's hard. You have to have some emotional self-security to stand up against your profession and insult them directly. Um, because there's backlash, dude. Like, are you kidding me? Like, people DM me, sliding ex-classmates, ex-friends. Like, this last year has been strange in the fact that never before did we ever face real social consequences for speaking our truth. Not on this level, dude. Not on this level. Like we're all going through. Yeah. So that's sort of how I structure my day. I wanted to get into some other things of like why I'm not scared outside. Okay,
Mhm.
so I'll give you an example today, dude.
Sure.
All right. So I have allergies. So every time the spring comes, when spring comes and it's cold spring, and I have severe allergies, and I'm also outside a lot, like that allergy, that rawness to that will make me kind of like weak enough that I might get sick. Like, you know how it gets. It doesn't like a regular cold, nothing to do with corona.
Yeah.
It almost always happens to me in early spring if I'm not careful. So I felt that this morning, right?
Okay.
And I'm like, damn it, I don't like this, right? It's pissing me off. But, and we'll talk about this a little bit later too, or we even bring it up soon now. I had my secret weapon, dude, right? This
Yeah.
secret weapon, dude,
Tell us.
this secret weapon, bro, this secret weapon, I sipped less than half an ounce of it. And all the, like, I'm now, my body's slowly recovering. It's I don't feel nearly as ill, but the psychological anticipatory fear of getting ill is gone. And you know
Mhm.
how much that's important? That may be more important than killing the actual virus. If you can get rid of the mindset of the anticipation of being like, fuck, I'm getting sick, because that's a whole big part of it. You know, you're like, oh no, and then you can't stop it. You feel like you're on a roller coaster going up. You're like, oh no, please, please don't let me get sick. Please let me. I
Mhm.
stopped it in
Mhm.
its tracks using something free that came from my body that ancient cultures have known about for thousands of years, that even American medicine knew about. There's American research on this. There's even international research, Japan, Germany. There's the research, but it was back in 1900 to 1940. Okay,
Wow.
when in the 40s, there's even a little bit of stuff after that. But once Rockefeller kind of got control of American medicine, he
Mhm.
influenced the whole world. Part of allopathic medicine also originated in Germany too, like the surgery and radiation stuff,
Mhm.
but they all came together to create this industrial model of medicine, of pills, surgery, and radiation, right? That became their triple threat. So this stuff started to die. And in addition to them pushing that business model, Rockefeller worked very hard to subvert and insult and call stuff like osteopathic medicine, chiropractic stuff, homeopathic medicine, even especially homeopathic medicine, he called quackery.
Oh, wow.
And I
Yeah.
mean, hardcore, and he shut it down in the States, and it has never recovered. And now, the older I get, the more understanding I have of the human body, the more respect I have for homeopathy and
Mhm.
understanding what the water really is. We are water. We are consciousness encased in water. The quality of the water is everything. So yeah, to me, it's just crazy. So what is this secret? What is the secret tool? It's not socially expedient to talk
Be-
about it. But
Before
go
you
ahead.
before you say it, just I want to pick people up because you might be
Please
going
do.
through stuff very fast, but I just want to make sure that everybody understands how important that actually is because we were coming right now from coronavirus, potential danger of vaccines, and we're going to get into that as well.
Right.
Threatening with the mask, and then right now we're going to talk about a solution here, what you can do instead. So you have to understand that all behind that there's I mean, I hate to call it, but it is corruption, what is going on. And there's a system which brings a lot of money on the cost of people's health behind that. And a lot of people forget that we have all these by God given natural weapons inside of us and with us, around us, in nature, in ourselves, in our body, which can prevent and heal you in a way better way. Why? Because it's without side effects. Because all these pills and all these vaccines and all that stuff always comes with side effects, right? Which keeps you spinning in this endless, I call it diabolic cycle of needing more medicine, needing more, then this happens, this happens, this happens. And you can prevent all that by simple things, but nobody talks about that because it's just not, you cannot make capital out of it. That's what it is, right? And
That's what it is. And then also, the powers that be also kind of do PR campaigns to insult it as stupid, as just what idiots do, right? Like they work very hard to do that. Make no mistake. It's a combination of both mocking the truth and also pushing nonsense. You said it beautifully, dude. So
okay,
yeah,
what's the
take this
secret
very
weapon? What is the secret
no,
weapon?
no. I just wanted to say, but you actually, I'm glad you said that, dude. Take this very seriously. Like this is deep, and this is for your health. The solution is the utilization of your own urine for your own health, and I'll explain how and why that works. Okay,
Okay.
because first we need to understand what urine actually is. Right? People think of it as a waste product. That's incorrect. When you really study urine directly chemically, it's far from waste. It's essentially an ultrafiltrate of your blood, and of your blood plasma, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means is the watery component of the blood combined with excess elements in the blood. So let's say you have a certain amount of DHEA hormone in the blood, and at this particular moment you don't need that. Your body siphons it off. Be like, we don't need that. But it doesn't mean that it's waste. Waste is being processed by the liver and the GI tract, and it's going down the other way. It has nothing to do with waste here. This is excess elements that basically are not required in that moment. So when you first basically urinate, what comes out is an absolute sterile fluid. That's directly ultrafiltrate of your own blood. Okay, and
Okay.
it has over 3,000 chemical constituents in it. So so now before I move any further, I want to go back into some embryology, because people need to understand that stuff, because they need to understand that when you were a baby,
Mm-hmm.
after the first trimester, the belly, after the first trimester, 75% of the fluid, the amniotic fluid in the belly of the pregnant mother, is the fetus's own urine.
Wow,
Okay,
I didn't know that.
so the so the fetus's own urine is 25% is like plasma and stuff from the mother and stuff like that, but 75% of it is the fetus's own urine. Now, what happens in the amniotic sac is that the fetus actually is auto looping that urine, basically. So it breathes the liquid into its lungs. It also swallows it down the GI tract and out the kidneys and everything. So this looping of this fluid through the lungs, through the sinuses, through the GI tract, through the kidneys is absolutely critical for the development of all those organs. If there's a problem with the baby and she cannot produce or he cannot produce urine, you're going to have hypoplastic, you're going to have problems with the lungs, the GI tract. These things don't develop properly. So we're bathed in our own urine. We have to understand that. And if we were not, we could not generate the tissue to grow, and we could not support life. So understanding that that's where we came from. An additional thing to understand, a small little anecdotal story, is that if a baby, sometimes they have to do surgery on babies' hearts when it's still in the uterus, like it's called in utero surgery. So they'll go in there, repair a heart valve or something, and they'll close the baby up. If you do that surgery in the belly and the baby goes back in and they finish the pregnancy, there's no scar on the chest. If you do that exact same like surgery 10 minutes after the baby is born, there's a scar on the chest for life. What is going on? Like there's so much to understand what's going. That's to give you a context to understand how human biology is actually utilizing urine in a regenerative auto looping process to regenerate and build tissue. So that gives you some context. So that should change people's mind about like,
Okay.
what does this do? What does this substance really do?
So
As opposed, yeah, right.
no, I'm just want to clarify because actually, for me, guys, it's also a new topic. I mean, you were basically the guy who introduced me to that last year. So I've been trying it out on my own. Even it sounds disgusting when you first hear it, like drinking your own urine. Like, and it honestly, it's super interesting. Like I can tell you from firsthand, because the urine, how it tastes, is a direct reflection of your lifestyle, of your eating habits, it's super, super interesting. And you've been telling me about that as well. But just to make clear and to break it down very simple, basically what you do is kind of like circling the like closing the circle, right? Like
Yeah,
you get it,
exactly.
you get it out and get it in again, so your body gets feedback of what is wrong and what is right and can correct that after that. Is that right?
Absolutely. Basically, this is a feedback mechanism, right? Imagine like you're a computer, but you never got this information back. You're almost like always just basically throwing the information away, right? You have it exactly right. Basically, there's lymph nodes, right? There's lymph nodes under your tongue and your tonsils.
Mhm.
Once they, because some of the information in the urine is immunological. So you have IgA, you have different immunoglobulins, and you also have different antigens from what you're dealing with. Okay, your urine is a direct holographic and chemical reflection of your blood. Whatever's going on with you is in there. Okay, Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, they know this well.
Mhm.
So when you basically feed this information back into the system, let's say you don't want to swallow the urine, you could even gargle with it and spit it out. If the information hits the underneath the tongue and the back of your throat, that'll even help you out because you're
Mhm.
telling your lymph nodes what's going on in your blood and it knows how to use that. This is honestly above medical science. They don't know how to think about this stuff. So they're just like, oh no, that can't be true. How they look at the body is highly problematic and reductionist. We could get into that in a different podcast. But this is why I brought the antigen stuff up is important. Okay. Let's say you're exposed to CV-19 or any virus.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the virus is. It doesn't even matter if it's engineered, dude. It doesn't. Your body is that wise. There's two mechanisms by which your urine can help basically save you, support your body, and move you through any quote unquote infectious process. One, the second you basically meet a virus, your body's going to attempt to do something. Okay. It's going to attempt to create some kind of antibody or some kind of particle to fight against it, right? And it may not be effective. It might be a poor match, and it wouldn't do a good job in removing it. Let's say it's only 30% effective, right? Then you go pee this out. Some of that antigen is going to be in your urine. You feed that information back into the system. The lymph nodes read it. Okay. Now your body sees it. Okay, we made this shit. This is what happened. Not good enough. There's still inflammatory markers in the urine which indicate that he's kind of on the verge of getting sick. So it'll make changes based on that, right? It just does it on its own. This is how remarkably beautiful the system is. So the second time you take it in, it reiterates again, and you can feel it. You can feel your body's response tightened and be like, oh, it's getting better at this, right? You keep doing that. Eventually, within a couple of days, no matter what the virus or pathogen is, your body iterates to a point where it's like, I know what to do. Okay. That's one. And it makes it very tailored. It tailors it itself. That's one. Yeah, it's speculative what I'm saying, but it's based on experience and other people's experience. Other people have said this
Yeah.
also.
Yeah.
Two, more importantly, here's the real cool thing about urea. Now, it's about 2.5% in the actual urine, and that's not a super high concentration, but that's a high enough concentration to directly kill viruses, okay? So urea degrades viral proteins directly through a chemical mechanism that does not require any immune specific tailoring at all. This is just chemistry. Just like you put bleach on something and it destroys some stuff, it does it just like that. So urea is a very powerful disinfectant.
Hmm.
And not only is it very powerful because your body generates it, you're peeing it out, it's already in your blood. When you put it in, like you might have to like you might detox, you might have to go to the bathroom or sweat or cough or phlegm something out, but that's all that's going to happen. Like there's no side effect. The side effect of it might be an unpleasant detoxing process where like you blow out 10 years worth of mucus from your fucking sinuses. Okay. That's a detox. It's going to beat you up. You're going to have to fall asleep for a day or two, but you were poisoned and toxic and nothing was getting at it. And
Yeah.
urea cuts through that. It's a detergent it's your body's natural detergent for the toxicities that are built in there. And it's been used chemically as a detergent. Back in the day, they used it for soap. They combined it with fat to create soap. So it has very powerful chemical and biological qualities while remaining non-toxic to our tissue. It's a no-brainer, dude.
Yeah.
It's like you want to grow vaccines on some aborted cells and like with a bunch of weird chemicals and adjuvants and versus this, like why wouldn't you try this? Why isn't this on the ICU's menu? Like how disconnected from real reality are these people now? They seemed cool and progressive with all their gadgets before now. Now it's just like I'm watching them. Doctors are disconnected from reality. And they're doubling down, dude. They're doubling down. The ones, either doctors are like, they don't know what to do, and they're like, shit, we're skeptical, but we have to survive. Or they go hard in the paint. They'll put 3 masks on, bro. And they'll just push vaccines they have the donut with the certificate. You know what I'm saying? Like that's like,
It's
I
like
get why they're doing it. Yeah.
it's
So
like it divides society completely, right? You either like
yeah,
completely against or completely pro, and that's just generally a problematic for me, because the communication between both parties is just not happening. Like people are not, like, especially the pusher pro this stuff right now. They are so limited in their view, like, because that they cannot listen and cannot understand to the other side.
yeah.
We on the other side, I mean, I hate to say that in that way, but at least we understand the other side and we see the problematic. But the problem with that is, like, the other side is not seeing what is potentially beneficial, because I can say, like, okay, for example, I got vaccinated for other stuff in the past without, before pro COVID, because I thought, okay, this is maybe helping me. And honestly, maybe some vaccinations even, like, is okay. You can probably work on that. But the thing is that for me, the diplomatic communication between both parties is just missing out. And then you have this, like, divided society instead of, like, coming together and finding a natural based solution together, like, and
Yeah,
that's.
no, exactly, dude. And it's like, here's the thing. What I'm noticing about myself in the last couple months is that I'm working on my judgment of those pro guys, right?
Mhm.
And I think you are too. But I'm not seeing that shit happen on their side. Again, this is not to be judgment. It's just accurate, and I don't blame them because their position is
True.
unconscious.
Yeah.
Okay, they're emotionally being pushed unconsciously, and that's why they're like that.
Yeah.
And again, dude, there's nothing. Again, here's the crazy thing about even the UT is this is a form of vaccination, and even more than that, there have been studies in the 40s and 50s, but more for kidney diseases and different other things, but even for asthma, where they used the urine as a vaccine, as an injection, and they were curing patients of stuff like diabetes, dude, type 1 genetic diabetes, like hemorrhagic cystitis, like, bro, stuff that makes no sense to me. Asthma gone with injections of their own urine. Vaccination as a theoretical model isn't flawed necessarily. It's what we're using as the raw material to vaccinate that may be the problem. So this is a distinction that, again, inconvenient truth for all of pharmaceutical industry, because to be honest with you, we have to change the way we think. Again, there may be a place in the future for intelligently designed synthetic drugs. But I can tell you, based on my survey of the last 20 years and the effects I've seen on people, this is garbage, not good enough. And it should not be respected. Yeah.
And just to say it, like, the beautiful thing about that is, as disgusting as it might sound to you in first place, you can try it out immediately. And the worst thing what can happen is you say, like, okay, this is completely crap, I don't want to do this. And
Yeah, it ain't gonna hurt you,
that's
dude.
okay, right?
Like a worst case scenario. Listen, because listen, we have so much filth in our intestines, right, in our stomach, because we eat so much cooked food. The first thing it's gonna do is gonna start cutting through that. It's gonna make you feel a little bit like nauseous. You're gonna feel rumblings in your stomach because our cooked food and all the weird stuff that we eat, at least I do, it creates a weird kind of glue in our intestines, dude. So
Mm-hmm.
this thing is cutting through that, which then allows you to breathe more. When you breathe more as it cuts through that, you're going to make your intestines rumble. So you're going to have to poop, but that's it.
Yeah.
So if you're telling me that that is too much of a side effect for your overall health versus taking some pill or taking some like strange injection,
Mm-hmm.
which is going to hijack your genetic machinery, forget about the fact that you might even become part of some company's intellectual property. Be like, well, you're generating our molecule. Yes, but it's patented, but it's in your body. So we're going to play this game here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So technically speaking, bro, parts of your body. So this is dangerous on so many levels,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like it ain't even. So we'll get into all that stuff. But that's how UT really, honestly, I'm telling you, it has the potential to level and the whole playing field. And
Okay.
there's villages in Africa doing it. Taiwan has a huge population doing it. China has subpopulation communities doing it. Southeast Asia knows about it. Villages in India, they tend to use cow's urine for stuff like, but you don't need to. Your own is and that's not even, this is just using this in terms of health. The original use of this was partially for health, but really it was for advanced yogis to get better and more flexible at their Kriya yoga. That's where its first context that I saw it from,
Okay.
because I read it from like Hindu scriptures and stuff like that. So, but I didn't know that it was by reading other people's books on urine therapy, like, oh, they're using this to save themselves from death's door. Like this
Yeah.
lady, I read so many stories, dude, so many testimonials, so many people I've talked to who have been at death's door. Medicine gave up on them, didn't give a shit. It was over, gave them a death sentence, and 6 months later they're walking around, be like, I can't believe it. How are you not riddled with cancer? And I I wish I could tell you the exact answer. I don't know. But
Yeah.
here's the thing. I'm see that this is where ego and arrogance comes in. They want to know everything. I'm like, dude, I don't know why it works. I could tell you it works based on my eyes, observation, and empirical anecdotes. That's it. And then I share it with people because I know it's not going to hurt them. Worst case scenario, they don't like it and they give up. Who
Yeah.
cares?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they know about it, dude. They know about it, and then you never know, it might come back 20 years later,
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. That makes
So
sense.
yeah.
And you actually, you told me you even combined it with long periods of fasting, right? That's another thing.
Oh yeah, but that's actually again from the Kriya Yoga stuff. When
Okay.
those yogis do extended fasts, see, so normally if you fast for too long, normally, not always, but it depends. The bowel can kind of degrade a little bit, especially like based on like what we know from ICUs. If you don't put physical food in the actual GI tract, it can begin to kind of have some problems with this barrier permeability, and it degrades a little bit, right? So, and also it's difficult to fast too. But there, even though there's not much calories in the urine, there's enough hormones in there, like melatonin and all of the sex hormones and all the rest of the hormones, and even a little bit of amino acids, a tiny bit, to support the fasting. So it's much easier to fast on utilizing urine than just dry fasting or even water fasting.
Wow.
So I use it for that reason, because it makes it easier. Because otherwise, in a dry fast, like after a day or two, you might be non-functional, just waiting to go through the symptoms of detoxing. This lets you keep functioning. Like you can
Okay.
keep talking to people. You're gonna be a little bit lightheaded and stuff like that, but you could keep functioning and you won't feel too weak. So it helps for fasting in that sense for sure. And the urea itself is a cleansing agent, so it's a little bit proactive compared to pure water fasting.
Okay. Interesting. Speaking about fasting, can you just break down for people, like in your way, like what are the benefits, the main benefits for you why you fast?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. We've been taught that we need food to survive and we need food for energy all the time. This is a mistaken notion, and it does us more harm than good. Again, I'm not saying don't eat as much as you want, do what you want to do, but change your conception of why you're eating and what it's for.
Okay.
The bowel digestion is a very expensive process energetically, as you know. If you
Yeah.
eat a big meal, A lot of times you're gonna get sleepy because you got to pour all your enzyme juices into it, and you're gonna also have to dehydrate your own tissue to provide water for the gastric juices. So most foods that aren't living, like fruits and stuff like that, they're gonna require input of energy and also a lot of enzymes that aren't in the food directly, right? So that's very energy expensive. That's one thing, right? So giving your body a break from that is a good thing, right?
Okay.
If you're busy digesting all the time, most of us are so busy digesting all the time that we can never begin. We never emphasize the process of detoxing and elimination. If you're constantly digesting, you're going to be eliminating on the back end almost too late. You're never going to be proactively detoxing and eliminating. You're just keeping up with the garbage you're putting in there, right? So years and years of eating nonstop and never giving our bowel rest creates slight inflammation for everybody. And on top of that, there's filth that's still stuck in there, small amounts stuck in the crypts and stuff in the colon that needs to be cleaned out and cleansed out. And that won't get cleansed out if you don't give the body a break, right?
Okay.
By putting water in there, just water, liquids, you give the body a chance to start cleaning that out. Why that's important? Because backed up matter left in the colon, that little, even though it may be little fecalith and stuff stuck in there, that's blocking absorption of water. That's messing up all the colon's functions, right? And eventually this problem backs up from the colon all the way to small intestine. And part of the people's bellies is just, it's not all their fat. It's not just fat. It's not just big organs. It is feces backed up. They're backed up. We're eating too much. Like, so by giving the body a break and not putting food in there, at once the fast begins, it might take 18, 24 hours. Now it's like, oh, we don't have to process anything. We already finished processing everything that was in there before. Now I'm going to start cleaning out my cells.
Okay.
Now I'm going to start the process of autophagy. Now I can begin cleansing the cells from inside out. Now, usually that takes a little bit more extreme to really kick in, like 72 hours of no food to really, really kind of, in terms of like what the research is. But you can profoundly clean your brain cells, man, your neurons in 72 hours of a strong fast. I've done it, and I've even felt the effects even when I didn't do pure fasting. When I was doing urine therapy, which is very close to a fast urine therapy with a small amount of fruit and as much water as I wanted. So maybe my caloric intake was around 200-300 a day, which was doable. It wasn't a perfect fast, which every time you mess up a fast, you are slowing down. So every time I did because in some ways dry fasting is more powerful than even urine therapy, but it may be intolerable, depending on how toxic your body is, right? It takes years of purification before I'm not there fully yet, So yeah, I hope that makes some sense.
That makes sense actually, and thanks for breaking that down. I mean, I never did a fasting that long, but what I can tell, I did a 1.5 day fasting basically. So like it was 36 hours.
36.
Like
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
And what I experienced, like, of course, your body is like in the first beginning, like after 16 hours of fasting, it just tells you like, give me food, give me food, give me food.
Well, it's like fuck. Yeah, exactly.
And then when you go through the whole day and then you go to sleep, and what I noticed the next day, I didn't feel hungry anymore, and I woke up super energetic and
kind of strong, right? Feeling kind of strong, right?
And I think
but
this is important to mention because I feel people have this, like you said, that people have this misconception of energy brings me, food brings me energy, which is basically, yes, it is true in some way, but
that's the whole story.
Exactly, but people have to learn like that. This is again like connect yourself with your body and learn when everybody who has ever trained on an empty stomach knows that like you can have way more energy in your training than when you have eaten a lot of, like, just logically it makes sense because all your energy is wasted on digestion instead of like having it inside of your mitochondria and you can push something out, right? So
right, exactly. No, it's that, and that's the whole thing. Like so much of our hunger is habitual and psychological. Like it's the same thing, dude. Like I'll be like, oh my god, I'm gonna die after 18 hours. I need to eat. I have to get that dinner. I have to get a big dinner, right? But sometimes you fall asleep or push through it. You wake up like, what the heck? I'm even less hungry than I was before. and I don't even feel like eating. I just want to go outside and just go in nature. It's like it confuses you because you're like you were so sure your hunger was so strong.
Yeah.
It's psychological too, dude. It's a comfort thing, and when we do eat, it is a form of narcosis, and that's fine. You know, we don't need to be perfect yogis, but understanding it is important. Yeah, good point, man. Excellent point.
And you can actually, like, again, I normally, if I don't try to like build huge muscle mass or something like that, on the normal circumstances, I would always fast at least in the morning, like every day. Like that's just like my 100% to go. Yeah.
I've actually it's funny, I actually been that basic fasting, especially the morning stuff, just getting waters and very light stuff in the mornings. I've been doing that for 20 years, and I think that's critical because everyone tells you, see, this is the part, like a lot of like these sun gazing kind of like new electromagnetic medicine guys talk about having the biggest meal of the day in the morning, and there is a little bit of logic to that, dude. That's not the way I like it. I don't like doing that. I get bogged down, even if I'm outside sun gazing and I have a big breakfast. I get very bogged down by all that stuff. I can't think clearly. Um, I can't think clearly, dude. That's just what happens to me, and I think that's the case with most people. Um, so that's why I disagree with them. You know, I'm like, you know, and plus, like, you know, if I ate last night, I want to give as much time as possible to clean it out, really kind of pull all the nutrients out, detoxify, fix it up before I throw in a new challenge for the body to do. You know,
Yeah.
it's respecting that process and, like you said, building the connection with your body.
And it makes, I mean, just to round that thought up, it makes sense because when on just pure logic, on an energy level, like you waste energy when you know you waste energy on digestion, and you want to be in the morning, you want to have as much energy as possible. When you combine that, going outside, loading the hormones up, getting the right feedback, and then you want to do some work, and why would you throw some food immediately in there? That would be a waste of energy, and interrupting all the process, right?
It actually messes it up exactly like that. Plus, also, I forgot to mention, when you get good at sun gazing and you're kind of adapted to it, it suppresses that hunger, that insane hunger of waking up, the light, because really your brain needs light, and it wants light. Food is a proxy for light. So it's a secondary backup for light. If you can give the brain light directly, it's happy. Dude, I've done this. That's how I fast. Otherwise, you think I'm some kind of like rigid, oh yeah, I'm so disciplined, I'm starving. No, I'm stopping the hunger response using sunlight. It stops it, dude. Then I have light caffeine and I put a little bit, it makes it much more manageable. You know what I mean? It just changed. I don't know what it does, dude. I wish we had the science, man. This is the science. See, that's why I get upset, because I'm like, we have sort of some of the science, but it's not answering the real questions that I want. It's sort of like describing stuff peripherally.
Yeah.
But every time, dude. And then here's the thing: the more skin I expose on top of the eyes, the less hungry I am.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
this relationship is very real for me. And you know me, I've been obsessed with the sun since we met, and I've been even more obsessed lately. So you know, I'm out there experimenting and seeing this stuff. I'm like, dude, like this is helping me do this. So then I get the energy I need. I stop the weird hunger response, which is very distracting, and then I can concentrate with like a light body. You
Yeah.
know, my body is light. I can concentrate, and then in the evening, it's natural to feel like I'm gonna reward myself because I'm gonna be sleepy. I'll watch I'll watch something. It's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
natural to be like,
Yeah.
you approach your day kind of like a hunter in the morning, even though we're on a computer just typing. It's not really hunting, but you want to have that feeling of like, I'm ready to run around if I have to,
Yeah.
instead of being like, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that makes completely sense. And yeah, so I think that was great to I what I think is people probably get a little bit maybe overwhelmed with everything, because when you think about a regular guy or a regular woman out there, and he or she is just thinking like, oh my god, yes, this all makes sense in some way, but I'm just like, I'm always busy, I have this to do, I have this I cannot do this, I cannot invest the time,
Yeah,
I don't know
right.
where to start, I feel overwhelmed. And but something what Asad just said makes a lot of sense here, like, and I want to, but how can I start? What is a good thing to start with? So maybe to round this amazing interview up here, maybe you can just give people little quick tips when they want to address stress in a fast, really great way, where would you start? If you would be in a 9 to 5 job right now?
Yeah, here's how I would start, and you need to have a little bit of faith for this too, right? Because the body changes, imperceptibly every day. So okay, and I'm dealing with that a lot because I'm like, I forgot, because I've been meditating for so many years, I forgot how quick people's thoughts are and how rushed they feel within their own minds.
Mhm.
So, like you said, this is important. Like you're making this connecting to actual people's real lives. So here's what you do, okay? You make it a priority that, hey, you know what? I'm gonna get myself outside for 10 minutes, put a timer on my little phone. Just walk outside. Walk outside, be outside in the sunlight. Before you do anything, have your glass of water, whatever. Don't drink any coffee. 10 minutes, bare minimum. And it's gonna feel weird to you because you're like, what am I doing? I'm supposed to be inside moving, moving, moving. No. Sit outside, train yourself to be outside for 10 minutes. Sit there, feel whatever you want to feel. There's no meditation. I just want your eyes and skin in the light. Okay. If you wear glasses, take them off. No sunglasses, no contacts. Okay. 10 minutes there. And if you have the time, 10 minutes in the evening. Create the parentheses for your day. Okay. You don't have to sun gaze. Just connect a little bit to that light so you're not indoors 24/7 without any information coming in. That's one. And then this is my whole 10-minute thing. Then I want them to do a 10-minute basic meditation, which is just a Shavasana pose. Okay. Get your yoga mat, put the 10 minutes on the phone. No, you can't use an app. No Calm, no Head. If you want to put a little rain in the background, that's fine. Lie down flat on the floor, 10-minute timer, and that's it. Just wait there. Teach yourself to wait without being impulse to move. Watch how restless you are. So that's the beginning. It's not easy, but that's good enough.
Yeah.
And if you do that for a year, dude, that it'll start slowly changing you. It's free, it's easy, and it begins to heal you directly. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I would do.
Okay, interesting point. So basically, get out, like literally get out, not just get outside, but get out of this always hectic lifestyle and just slow it down, be with you, be present in the moment. I hear this so many times from people, but I think people just, they want that so fast. And I like that what you said, that it's easy to implement, but the hardest part is probably stay on track and do it.
That's it, because it's impatience, right? Like an agitated mind can't sit still enough to get out of its agitation.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of almost like disconnect and slowly relax out of that consciousness. And you're gonna have to watch your own agitation. And that's not easy because it's painful, but do it.
I know it from my own experience actually, that just sitting there and like just staring at the wall, for example, or staring outside, like sometimes it's really hard because
Dude, I remember you texted me. You texted me. You were in the mountains. You were in the mountains somewhere, and you had this experience, right? Because you were away from all tech. You were really away from technology. You were like out in nature. I'm like, and even I haven't been done that in a while. And you're like, bro, it's actually something. Yeah.
But it's necessary, because if you want to change something at the beginning, of course it's not easy. It feels weird. It feels like this is something new to your body.
Exactly.
But that's why I like your approach. Take 10 minutes, even in the morning, if you can, in the evening as well, and just be with yourself and be in the sunlight, get out and try to push a little bit away from the technology. Use it, but use it wisely, right? Like
yes. And just sit there. Don't do anything.
Yeah.
Don't do anything. Don't move. Don't try to do anything. Don't try to get anywhere. Get the hell out of that whole linear mindset. That linear mindset is torturing consciousness. And we'll get into that next podcast. But yeah, dude, awesome.
Sounds so simple, but it is not simple for a lot of people. But yes, you're right. Yeah. Asad, I want to say thank you for taking the time, for bringing some light to people.
Indeed. I'd love to. My pleasure.
It was really great. So, but before we close this episode, if people are interested to learn more about that, to get into touch with you, how can people reach out best way to you? What would you say?
You know what, Mav? I'm gonna link you to my LinkedIn page.
Perfect.
That's my best move right now. I actually do need to get a website out. It's actually a bare bone minimum. I don't need anything too complicated. Yeah, so I'm still not great on how to contact me, but let's use LinkedIn profile for now. Feel free to reach out and connect with me. I should have a website out.
Yeah.
Thank you. I should have a website out probably in the next 4 weeks, just a basic place for a landing ground where I'll put some videos up on basic topics.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll work out that whole thing, but I'm happy to work with people. I'm happy to, you know, if you have questions, answer them. It just might take me some time to get back to people, but that's it.
Sure.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Mav. We'll do a follow up in a couple of weeks, and you know, we'll talk some detail. We'll talk some scientific details on, because more and more people are, you know, on the edge about the whole vaccine thing, and we'll break some of that stuff down.
Yeah.
And I'll do a good I'll do kind of a very balanced coverage. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be anti-vax. I'm not going to be pro-vax. But like, here are the facts. Here's
just
what's
the truth, right?
Yeah. This session, we gave the real solution in this session. So people who really want to save themselves, you can just do this. But that's for people who are still in the consumer market for what's going on.
Sure.
Awesome, Mav. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you. It was really my pleasure. Thank you.
All right. See you soon, brother.